I think in the future you're going to have all contracts be written by AI.
If you do a cost benefit analysis, technology is certainly an enabler. We just need good policy to fairly distribute it and to convince people that it's not here to take your job away, it's here to give you more work.
What is particularly exciting about the use of artificial intelligence is it cuts down the time taken to search for relevant cases.
AI integrates into the Indian legal system. I think the criminal justice system is the first one to benefit.
No, AI can be a huge advantage in the Indian legal system.
Welcome viewers to another episode of BCubed, Breaking Boundaries with Sabeer Bhatia. This is an episode on law and technology. To begin with, I would like to ask you, how has technology really impacted the practice of law of late?
Thank you. Hello everybody. Thank you Mr. Bhatia and Mr. Yunus for having me here. To start with, what I'll say is that technology is an enabler. So like they say that competition is the law of the jungle, but cooperation is the law of civilization. But there are a couple of initiatives which are already in incubation, and I think they're also going towards market intervention, which I'll talk about as we go forward with this show. And I think they will revolutionize the Indian industry and the painful log of cases that we have pending in our country today.
Wonderful. Sabeer, your take on law and technology.
I think, first of all, technology has had a profound impact on law, beginning with, searching for cases. This used to happen even before the advent of AI. You use LexisNexis systems to, search for cases. But I think what is particularly exciting about the use of artificial intelligence is it cuts down the time taken to search for relevant cases if there is a legal question that needs to be asked. That is one area in which technology is going to have a profound impact. The other is, AI is so good at creating contracts that if two parties today can enter into an agreement and just describe the basic terms of their understanding of a transaction and ask AI to generate a contract for them. I mean, I know this is not music to the ears of lawyers and people who've spent many years studying the profession, but I think in the future you're going to have all contracts be written by AI, because AI doesn't miss a full stop or a comma or in terms of language. It is absolutely perfect. It relies on a body of knowledge that already is in existence to create new contracts, and I think it's going to have a profound impact in the field of in the legal field, in my opinion.
So as you go about using technology in law, obviously there is the prime question of how much law will allow technology to come in, which is regulation of the use of technology.
Thank you. I'd like to say one thing. Before we go there, we should take a step backward and see there's a data by Niti Aayog which was released in 2023, which said that if Indians stop filing cases today or suits today, we will take 324 years to settle the cases we already have. Now that is scary data. And going by that, it's a huge discouragement for investors in the Indian market to enter, if that is the kind of case backlog you have in the Supreme Court, High Courts and various lower courts. So why I'm particularly happy with the present regime is because they've come out with the Mediation Act of 2023. It's an alternate mode of dispute resolution, but I think it's an appropriate mode of dispute resolution. And why technology will actually be able to penetrate into the legal sector through the Mediation Act is because mediation is a form of dispute resolution which is out of court, And I have an organization called Team. It's called Training for Excellence in Arbitration and Mediation. We are starting mediation trainings for lawyers and non-lawyers across the country, because equipping people with the art of dispute resolution takes a lot away from the court, saves you time. And going forward, when you integrate technology, we'll have people slash machines called DDRS, Digital Dispute Resolution Specialists. And if you have a DDRS mechanism in the country, we have an alternate to the court system. So I think that is the first step where we integrate technology. Only going from there can you integrate technology with advanced searches, or like you said, that contract management also. We can have lawyers, actual lawyers in a supervisory role, but as far as due diligence is concerned, you can cut down the labor hours with AI. Now, the problem there is it creates a social problem, that is, it's disruptive as technology because it will hamper employment. So, my suggestion for that would be that you tax the penetration of the legal sector if there is AI. So, you tax the companies that bring AI into it, because there is no other way to have equitable distribution of technology or equitable proliferation of beneficial technology.
In simple terms, what you're saying is AI will resolve cases. Is that what you're saying?
It'll help, yes, certainly. If we train, so my organization, we did a training for the RERA members of AP, a state in South India. RERA is the Real Estate Regulatory Authority. So they have a truckload of litigation, and it doesn't get solved over years. So that's a lot of capital being stuck in the real estate market. So let's assume with the onset of the Mediation Act, you have technology and you have trained programs to resolve those cases, because there is only so much technicality in a real estate dispute. With that, you reduce the time of the disputes that are taken by tribunals to resolve the cases, and I think that is step one for the Indian legal industry to integrate technology. Once you have these basics ready, can you advance into contract management? First, you need to start settling disputes which you already have and you're buried under. And this data of Niti Aayog is after tribunals have been created to resolve cases.
Aisha, what about predictive analytics? Can we predict the outcome of a case even before the judge or jury comes to a conclusion using these mechanisms and predictive technology?
If we have AI in our court systems, then it's black and white. So that doesn't leave much to the imagination, and we are yet to get there. I believe we'll still take at least a decade with a lot of persuasion with the Indian public to get there. But a current incubation that's happened in the Indian legal market, and it's a Delhi-based startup, it's called Legal Pay. So if I got the name right. So what Legal Pay does is they anticipate contracts which may go into disputes going forward. So both the parties get a legal insurance from Legal Pay, and there is a zero interest payment system. You can get a zero interest loan from Legal Pay to resolve your disputes going forward. That way you don't allocate a lot of your resources towards dispute resolution. You carry on and proliferate your business, any business it could be. So the legal hindrance of one part of your contract won't hinder your business. You can carry on, and Legal Pay will facilitate all dispute resolution. And that's legal fintech actually. And it's the first legal fintech startup of Delhi which is doing this. And I think it's particularly commendable because there is with all of the bilateral investment treaties and multilateral investment treaties, you understand that contracts and parties will go into dispute because they're multi-party. So if you have something like this, you understand you don't need to allocate or reallocate a chunk, and your business is not halted or disrupted because of legal procedures, etc. So it's like offshoring your headache. So that's one step, because India is a new market for penetration of technology in the legal sector, because it's heavily regulated by the Bar Council of India. I'm not saying they're averse to welcoming technology, but of course there will be debates and roadblocks. So I think Legal Pay is doing good work to start with.
Sabeer, there is a subject which has been very dear to your heart all the while, which is education. And you're looking at the new paradigm of education, a more proactive, hands-on system rather than the regurgitating system. Now, I would like you to comment upon what would be the impact of technology on the education of law, legal education.
Yeah. Well, listen, my experience, I'm not a trained lawyer. My only experience is that in the Western courts, case law is all important. You know, all cases are resolved based on, proximity to a prior case that has already has been adjudicated by a judge. And for that, AI is brilliant, because you basically know that this case is similar to something that occurred before, and what was the end result, and but all of it is based on one thing, speaking the truth and getting the truth out based on facts, not what was written, what was agreed to, more on what is the nature of this dispute. So most of the disputes that are disputes in India are not even disputes over there, because if there was an agreement, there was an agreement, and it's a meeting of the minds issue. But I think technology will play a huge role, because now we can free the resources of lawyers from trying to read massive amounts of paperwork, and just saying, what is the dispute? Is there a natural dispute between these two people? Was it meant to happen? And it all comes down to who the person is inside, really. And if there is a truthful person, or if the person inside is a lawyer, I mean, a liar, that's really the point of contention. Usually one person is speaking the truth and the other is not. It's not really, let's get down to the contract, what was agreed to, because most contracts that is written, they're never touched. It's like, if there was an understanding, that's what propels companies forward, societies forward. For example, I have seen merger of two companies, massive companies, was done in a week's time. They said, let's just merge. We think it makes sense for the market. It'll be better for people. And yeah, the legal paperwork may have taken 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, but once there was a meeting of the minds between the two CEOs, that's it. The companies were acting as if they were merged. So things happen very rapidly. Or, for example, alternatively, it's impossible to shut a company down in India. When Sears, the board of Sears, decided to shut down a 200-year-old company, within a week it was done. Unlike over here, which everything keeps dragging on and on and on, because we do not stick to the spirit of the law, but we go for the letter of the law.
But Aisha, isn't law a discipline where the letter is of a larger consequence than mere spirit? Spirit, of course, is a larger backdrop. What's your take on this?
I think substance and procedure are both important for law, and you require procedure because you require discipline, like Mr. Bhatia said. You require that discipline, so you need to streamline it. If you just have substance over procedure, then things go haywire. And again, in a country of 1 billion people, you can't not have discipline and procedure. Only thing is, it should not obliterate your substance. Like, it should not obliterate the outcome of it. What was spoken earlier about precedential value, that you can use AI in, if there are similar cases, in simple layman terms, if there are similar cases, this is the outcome of the case. Now that, according to me, can really be used in the criminal justice system of India. 50% people in Indian jails are under trials, and that's alarming and painful. So to get them bail is a big problem. 50% people in this country are under trials. They wait a decade to 2 decades sometimes to just get a hearing on whether they were actually correctly accused of what they were accused of, and put behind bars and incarcerated. Now in that situation, if you have AI, if you have integration of technology with the criminal justice system, you understand this is what he was accused of, these are the precedents or the cases from before, and this is how we are going to resolve it. Is he entitled to bail? Yes, he is. Put him out. He can always come back for trial. You can have your bail bonds, you can have your conditions, unless of course it's a seasoned, he or she is a criminal who is a repeat offender or has another kind of history. So I think the first thing we need to do is, if and when AI integrates into the Indian legal system, I think the criminal justice system is the first one to benefit. And that's going to be, that will not just benefit the people who are behind bars and in terms of developing bail jurisprudence, but it will give a lot of confidence to society in the legal system, which unfortunately is eroding because of a lot of things. And I'm not blaming anybody. We are under-equipped as a nation in terms of the courts to handle the kind of caseload we have. It's just we are under-equipped and the courts are overworked.
No, AI can be a huge advantage in the Indian legal system if once somebody takes the concerted effort to, like you said, resolve cases which are, petty crimes or whatever, which we know what the judge is going to, how the judge is going to rule. I think those, if left to an AI engine, should be done away with in weeks' time, as opposed to waiting for years.
So, Aisha, in culmination of this session, what do you have to say about the law as it should regulate technology and technology as it should facilitate law?
I think regulation of technology is important, but I don't know how you do it, because technology is really intangible and you don't know how to tame it, and you'd know this better than I. Like, it proliferates like fire and you don't know how to tame it. So that is a big policy question, and I think we need to start debating that, whether it's in the parliament also, or the Ministry of Law internally. We can have a white paper. If you could initiate a white paper, so it could be another hotmail revolution of how to integrate technology in the Indian legal sector, because the legal sector of this country obviously impacts everything else. So it's a proliferation again. Now, in order to realize, like even in the US today, we don't have an act which regulates AI. There is no act which regulates AI. We don't have, there's no legislation. They may be debating it, but there's no regulation. What do you do with the growing AI, proliferating AI, disruptive AI? Like 49% of America's labor force today is employed in the gig economy. It's temporary employment. Only 51% is actually employed, and it's a direct consequence of AI. So it's equally disruptive. Now, you don't want that kind of chaos happening in our country. So either the government needs to limit the level of penetration and do it in phases, and the government also needs to tax the entities which are going to control these softwares. For example, if you have DeepMind or OpenAI, and they experiment with this software, they've made neural network which imitates the human brain and short-term memory of the human brain. If you start doing that, you need to regulate and tap the limit of penetration. There's no other way we can do it. So we'll need a code of conduct, we'll need some rules, we'll need some guidelines, with a cost-benefit analysis, of course, and like a phased-out execution.
First of all, I'd be happy to co-author a paper with you on use of AI to especially speed up these cases. On the second part, I actually must disagree with you. Technology should never be regulated. It is moving at such an alarming phase, and it's responsible for so much of the benefits we enjoy, and you really cannot stifle it. I have been close enough to it, and I've seen every week how AI is changing every tool that I'm dealing with. The last thing I would want is some person who's not familiar with how quickly technology is moving to hold it back. So, like for example, in the US, when Uber first came out with its whole app-based taxi cab system, it actually violated every rule and every law that was of every local city. But the cities didn't enforce them. Nobody stopped them, and that's why Uber went on to become and disrupt the entire taxi cab industry. So people have a really, I should say, a non-judgmental view of new technologies, because they know that technology is shaping our future. People want to look into the future. People want to be part of it, and people know that they all will benefit from it. So whenever there is an old rule that is broken, they look askance and say it's okay, allow it, because this is technology and it'll help us in the future. Whereas over here, people are only too eager to go and strike things down because it is against the law. I mean, when we came up, I could not have started Hotmail in India because I would have violated the Telegraph Act of 1887. And some, Babu would have come and told me, you cannot do this. It's illegal to do this. The world would not have had Hotmail, right? So I think we have to take a kinder approach to technology than say we have to regulate it, we must regulate it, because frankly, the regulators don't have the tools to understand the power of technology, and technology is what makes all of our lives that much better.
I fully agree with you. What I'll add is that what I expressed was my concern. It was not me dissenting or a lack of approval. I am concerned because we are a skeptical society. And again, there are circles within circles. So we need to be careful of how we execute it. Like I said, planned and phased execution, because without that, I think it'll be too much to handle. So if you have planned and phased execution, I think that will help. That's what I would suggest. And that's what I think is the approach. If you write it down, if you bring it out as a policy and you set targets of 5 years, just like we have the 5-yearly plan, that this is how we'll execute it. One example which I particularly am fond of is the prospective and the upcoming real estate development that Elon Musk is doing. They're bringing out those smart homes which are affordable housing, $10,000 homes, and they're powered completely by renewable energy. And then they sync with your vehicle, of course, the Tesla. So that will disrupt the real estate market in the US. So those who are happy about flipping houses will certainly have to think about something else, unless it's a plush neighborhood. But again, that's housing for all. It's equivalent to the housing for all scheme of the government of India. So if we have something like that, like I said, it's disruptive, but if you roll it out in a phased manner and you convince people that this is good for you, something alike, something akin to that. We can't have that, we can't imitate exactly, but it's not one size fits all. But we could emulate that in a way that suits the Indian market, and we can actually give affordable housing to people. So this is how you integrate law. Now this will integrate into the real estate sector and the real estate law. So this is technology integrating into real estate law. So we have all these brackets and so much can be done. It's just that there is, we need initiatives. I hope this will, this talk will inspire somebody out there, create an initiative, and then we need debates in the country.
Great. So law regulates and technology improves as we go further in time. Great, Aisha. Thank you very much for your very erudite and articulate presence here for this episode. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you, viewers. This was the last episode of season 1 of BCubed, Breaking Boundaries with Sabeer Bhatia.